Hi, Cancer. This reading is for anyone who identifies as or finds themselves very interested in a Cancer energy as we are entering Leo season 2019. Cancers, you are the only sign who did get some readings this month already, some July readings. So these are additional messages, really, because those first 3 readings that I did for you were intended to speak to the entirety of July. So if you haven't seen those yet, there are 3. There's a general, love, and career reading for Cancers. Happy birthday again for those of you who just wrapped up your birthdays. And I hope you've been enjoying your season, and I hope you've been enjoying July in general. So now we're looking really at additional messages for mid-July, the second half of July specifically, and for Leo season 2019. I really feel like at this point, for most of you, these messages will take you through Leo season 2019, Cancers, but that being said, we do know that time is fluid, right? So of course the time is going to be a little bit different for everybody, each individual. Now, when I say that this reading is for anyone who identifies as a Cancer, I do mean a Cancer, that this is for Cancer suns, moons, rising signs. Maybe your Venus or your Mars is in Cancer, or maybe any other placement in your chart that calls to you, or perhaps you just stumbled upon the reading fortuitously. Maybe YouTube led you here, or the title. If that's the case, that's another good indication that there very well may be a message for you, or you could be cross-watching. And this month, I may have already said it to you in your first set of July readings, Cancers, but this month, I have been called to say that if you are cross-watching, I mean, that can be useful, it can be helpful, but just I've had this special warning coming up in my mind to relay to you that you want to make sure to bring your discernment to the table, of course, if you're watching for, if you're cross-watching for someone, right? Of course, we want to make sure to do that all the time with all the readings and everything we do in our lives, but it's just something that's just been coming up. Specifically about cross-watching this month. So I've mentioned it to pretty much all of the signs. So yeah, that's for the collective, really. So far, Cancers, we have the 10 of Cups, the 6 of Cups, and the Queen of Swords, all showing up upright. So you have shared emotional fulfillment crossed with nostalgia, maybe a soulmate-like energy, a divine loving partnership-like energy. The root of the situation is the 5 of Cups, Cancers. So this shared emotional fulfillment at present actually has actually stemmed from a loss earlier in July, or perhaps even earlier than that, earlier on in the summer, earlier on in the year. Now, these mid-July Leo season readings are definitely speaking to the eclipse energy of July 2019, Cancers. Particularly potent for you, I presume, since the first eclipse was in Cancer, and now the second eclipse, the partial lunar eclipse we just had, was in Capricorn, the sign directly opposite you, right? You've also got the King of Swords showing on the table now in your past, the High Priestess in the near future. 7 of Cups reversed is the more distant outcome. 3 of Swords reversed on the bottom of the deck, Cancers. So as I said, we are definitely looking at the eclipse energy as that continues to affect and transform all of our lives as a collective, not just Cancerians. But so that's definitely going to be influencing and affecting what's coming through, what's going on with you, what messages we're getting here. And I do think that energy continues for the next year, even next 6 months, the next year. So as I said, I do think this will take us through Leo season. But if you are specifically interested in how the that eclipse energy, the eclipses of July 2019, will continue to transform you moving forward. I did a pick a card reading specifically about that, asking and answering that question, Cancer. So I will link that down below in the description for you as well. Here is the 10 of Cups, and the 6 of Cups that I said is the shared emotional fulfillment, sharing joy with those around you to the extent that you actually see that energy then reflected back to you, and this nostalgia and or soulmate like energy that's crossing it, fond memories of someone coming up at this time. We are in Mercury retrograde. You're headed toward the High Priestess, using your intuition or perhaps keeping secrets in the near future. Sometimes it's both. I think that what you're experiencing is a state of feeling finally healed after a significant loss. Or perhaps for some of you, you lost some things during this eclipse energy, and going through Leo season, what will be most significant is that you're finally starting to heal. With the 3 of Swords here in the reverse, and with it showing up right on top of the 3 of Cups here, I think celebrating with friends, loved ones, those close to you, can certainly help you to continue healing, can certainly help to ground you at this time and throughout Leo season. You have much to celebrate, but there's been a pain, there's been a loss, and the only way out of that energy was through, right? When we see the 3 of Swords. I see that your energy was just simply clashing with someone that you probably had a close familial-like tie with. Now, maybe it was just a friend, maybe it was even a lover, but it was familial in nature, and how much time you had spent together, or what types of intimate conversations you had, and what you shared with this person, and yet your tempers, your certain aspects of your personality, something really clashed. And I always see these personalities coming through. Someone being more controlling and suffering from maybe panic attacks even, and having a really bad temper, and someone having this sort of almost disrespectful attitude that it looks like the child character in this card has. But, you know, if somebody's treating you with this type of disrespect, it does sort of make you want to be disrespectful in return, right? So I'm not judging either character in the scenario, just saying that is a combination that can clash. When somebody tends to lose their temper when they start to panic, right? And someone just doesn't respond well to that at all, just refuses to do anything besides sort of instigate and make it worse. There was just something, and I'm getting a lot of physical confirmation about this. That's super specific for some of you, but it is for someone. Yeah, there was just a clash of energies, and so there was a loss because of that. And it's interesting that you have the King and the Queen of Swords showing up in the reading on the table, and the 6 of Cups. So soulmate-like energy. I really feel we're talking about some type of divine partnership, but it doesn't have to necessarily mean that it's a romantic partnership when I say that, Cancers. So it may have been a Libra, Gemini, or Aquarius that you had to let go of, or you know, that you separated from in some sense, right, in the recent past, or just an individual in your life who is very intelligent, is a very cerebral, mental type of person. They're very logical, pragmatic, practical, right? So somebody with those characteristics, if not specifically a Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. This can also be speaking to the fact that this decision for you or them, whoever decided to let the other party or parties go, right, was a head over heart decision, it looks like. which makes sense with what we said about the energies just clashing. You can have a lot of emotion for someone, a lot of love for someone, romantic love or otherwise, but see that very clearly you cannot work together, you cannot live together, you cannot partner one another, etc. Right? You can see that, and it does have to be a logical decision when you know that you can't get any work done in that space around them, or you just can't get along well enough to really make a relationship work. Whatever the case is, whatever the type of partnership, I do think it was a head over heart decision to let this person go, and that doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. And for some of you, it was someone who you certainly have a divine connection with and believed it to be a soulmate or some other type of divine partnership because it was. But even those partnerships sometimes simply teach us a lesson. For others of you, you've had a divine partner or a soulmate-like energy, a good match for you, someone who is a very good match for you, Cancers, sort of step into the picture just after another loss. So there's a couple of different messages coming through. There always are, right? And so you have found this shared emotional fulfillment, but you are still having memories about and nostalgia for someone else from your past who you had to let go of. And in that case, I think that, this soul match type of energy for you that's come into your life is really someone that you're able to celebrate with, that's helping you get through this heartbreak and helping you to let go of those losses, even though it's very much still on your mind and on your heart. And I certainly don't think this message is for people who this was their first time having to cut someone out of their life in this respect. This is for people who they've done this before. You can see the tear in her eye. You can see the blood on the tip of her sword there. Those two little significant telling droplets there, meaning that this cut someone very deep. And it, as I said, weighs on your heart. It saddens you to the point of tears, literally, for a lot of you, to have to cut this person out of your life. But you're the type of person who has had to do that before. You know that that's what living a good life means sometimes, is keeping the energies that you interact with that are around you healthy for you, or productive for you. Maybe, again, like I said, it could be somebody you couldn't work with, live with, etc. And I think that this head over heart decision was the right thing for you because of this 10 of Cups in the center of the reading, Cancers. This shared emotional fulfillment is, as I said, joy reflected back to you. It's what making these cuts is often about, and what it's worth. It's what you were trying to protect. And head toward by cutting out any negative, toxic, heartbreaking energies from your life. And at the same time, it's also those people that are around you now, creating and sharing that joy with you and that love, that are able to get you through the fact that you still do miss someone that you had to cut out of your life from your past. And maybe since we're in Mercury retrograde currently, Cancers, for a lot of you, this may be someone from the distant past. Okay, so this may be someone you cut out a long time ago, but like I said, your heart and your mind is just still circling around the nostalgic feeling, the good memories. But you have a good situation currently, right? For those of you that resonate with this, the end of July 2019 and Leo season 2019 looks full of joy and beauty and love and family and connection and understanding. Emotion, not only just emotional fulfillment, but I want to say emotional soaring, right? And so I don't know. I mean, it's You'll have to use your intuition to make this decision for yourself. But I'm not sure with the High Priestess card in the near future that you want to share this nostalgia and these memories with the people around you currently. Some of you are wanting to keep that close to your chest. Maybe you have a new partner and you definitely don't want to share the fact that you're missing a partner from the distant past for some reason. And it really may just be Mercury retrograde sneaking up on you and saying, you know, you need to revisit the past. You need to take another look at what happened there. There are still lessons for you to learn, which can feel very much like a pull back to that person. And that's an easier explanation, right? Sometimes we will jump to and cling to that explanation of, oh my gosh, I must still miss them. I must still want to be with them. I must still be interested in them. When really that's just the simplest explanation. In truth, a lot of times with Mercury retrograde, your mind and or your heart are circling around what happened with that person in your past, because there's just still something to learn from them or from what happened. Maybe there is some truth about the way that things fell out between you and someone that hasn't been uncovered and would really release you from those feelings. So if you're feeling torn, if you're thinking back about an old soulmate-like energy, but you seem to have soulmate-like energies around you now, I think that may be why. I think that it might be a good idea to keep it close to your chest, ride out Mercury retrograde, and just investigate the past to the best of your abilities in whatever way is available to you. Think on it, meditate on it, look into astral projection if you're really serious about wanting to understand and maybe even re-witness what happened. It's certainly possible in a practice that a lot of people utilize. So it just kind of depends how interested you are and how badly you need to know. But information on that is certainly available. And honestly, yeah, with the High Priestess showing up in your near future, that is what's coming through for a lot of you, is that you need to know what happened. The reason you're experiencing these nostalgias, or this nostalgic feeling and these fond memories of someone, is because you really need to reinvestigate and take a deeper look at what happened. Delve into your own subconscious in order to understand what happened there. Again, meditation is a great place to start. Just set the intention before you go to sleep, and just allow your subconscious and your conscious to communicate about that. I would like my higher self, I would like my subconscious to, you know, and that is you, right? It's sort of strange to say it that way, but as we are more in touch in our awake state with our conscious mind, most of us, you can just set the intention to teach yourself what happened, to try to start showing yourself any truth that is skewed or unclear from that past that could be causing you to have those memories. And I think where this reading is taking us with the Seven of Cups in reverse is telling us two things, Cancers. If you do that, if you reinvestigate that past, those past events, that past happening. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean reaching out to that person and speaking to them about that. That, again, is up to your intuition, your discernment. You know how close you and this person are still. You know, if it's an ex-partner, and if you have a current partner who would be okay with that, right? So that's all up to your discernment and something you need to use your intuition for. But in some way, shape, or form, we're seeing that past, those memories do need to be reinvestigated. And maybe at a deeper, even more psychic level than you've ever attempted to do before. Some part of you really wants to understand the truth of this. And if you do that, if you investigate what happened between you and whomever you're missing, whomever you're nostalgic for, whatever loss is in the root of the situation, then I think that very shortly, at the latest, really around the end of Leo season, at the latest, exiting Leo season, it will be very clear what path is for you, what you want. The confusion will clear. any anxiety, any doubts will clear. It will be obvious. And Mercury retrograde is the shadow period is going to last through the first half of August 2019, Cancers. Everything's in retrograde. Mercury's in retrograde. Jupiter's still. Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto's still. The true node, Chiron, I'm looking at, they're all in retrograde. More things are than aren't, right? But Venus and Mercury are both in your sign currently, as well as the North Node. So a lot of activity for you continues, Cancers, while Pluto and Saturn are in Cap, and a lot of energy straight across from you continues, Cancers. So it can be really heavy energy, and it could be really confusing energy with the Seven of Cups reversed. And I think that if you hold all of the memories, the nostalgia, the questions that arise, if you hold all of that in, don't share it with any of the people who you are currently enjoying a connection and love and celebration with, right? And don't reinvestigate the past. Then instead, you're headed toward a feeling of deeper confusion, deeper insecurity, deeper anxiety, and probably a lot of you will probably choose escapism to get away from these memories, to get away from this doubt, this confusion. And it's a beautiful reading with the Ten of Cups in the center. This is just what happened with Sag yesterday. A lot of beautiful cards, a lot of beautiful energy coming through, and yet the reading was saying that there is work for you to do. There was work for Sag to do, and there's work for you to do, Cancers. That those memories that are coming up, they need reinvestigated. There's a lesson there. There's a miscommunication, a misunderstood truth there for you to look at again. And if you don't, if you keep that to yourself and you don't try to work out those memories in any way, I do see that some of you will be headed toward a state of choosing escapism, choosing television, fantasy, drugs, alcohol, too much partying, in order to continue the healing process and get those memories out of your mind, right? Some of you just, whether it was the recent past from eclipse season 2019 or very distant past, some of you just don't want to think about it, just don't want to deal with it. And it's because you haven't seen a way to deal with it, you haven't tried a way of dealing with it yet that really satisfies the itch and the urgency that seems to be surrounding this loss and the memory of that loss. It's because there's something that you're not seeing completely clearly. I do think you handled the situation logically. I do think that you could clearly see who needed to leave your life, right? You have been continuing to move forward because a huge part of you knows that that's the direction for you to go, leaving that behind. But there's just something about the incident, the loss, that has never been comfortable for you to think about because it didn't feel true, because there was something that you were misunderstanding about why the separation happened, or their position, something that you didn't know, or again, just a lesson for you to take away from it that hasn't been gleaned yet. And so it continues to arise in this sort of almost nagging type of way, even though you're surrounded with all this joy and love. It's sort of this little fly in the ointment that keeps coming up. And for some of you, it doesn't feel that way, because I'm not saying that they're bad memories, but it was a painful loss that you're still healing from. And these energies that lost each other, like I said, they didn't fit well. They seem to clash from what's showing up here. Now, like I said, this is going to be slightly different for each Cancer. So if you would like a private reading, we can certainly do that. But yeah, mainly what I see coming through, the basic message is to reinvestigate those memories in new ways through meditation, through setting the intention before you go to sleep. Look into astral projection if that's of interest to you, if that's something that sort of catches your attention that you've heard before, that you've already started looking into. There are very real ways to get the whole picture, even years after the fact. So, and it seems like a much better solution than choosing escapism in some fashion, whether we're talking about, again, food or television or drugs or alcohol or anything else that you overuse in order to avoid the things that your emotional body and your spiritual body are telling you it wants you to deal with, right? But what's interesting is that all of the energies that seem to be representing you, these strong, powerful, clairvoyant, claircognizant, clear-seeing feminine figures here are very capable of taking a gander at the hard truth, right? Very capable of accessing it and looking at it and accepting it. So all of that energy is within you. It's just a matter of you deciding to take a new approach when it comes to these memories. So with that, Cancers, I will leave the situation in your very capable hands. Again, if you would like a private reading from me, we can get more specific about anything that you've heard here. Just scroll down to the description box below. You'll find all the information and all of the links there. If you would rather email me, then follow a link. My name is Aze, and the email address is LunarticksTarot@gmail.com. I'm happy to work with you anyway. Thank you so much, all of you, for all of your support to Lunartics Tarot, liking, subscribing, etc., etc. The donation link is down below as well. Thank you so much. It's so appreciated. And I hope, Cancers, that you will make very wise choices for yourselves moving forward from this point. And I love you, and I will post another reading for you, for us, as soon as I can.